Every morning she'd check her bank account and feel that familiar sinking feeling. $27. Again. It didn't matter how hard she worked, how many extra shifts she picked up, or how carefully she tried to budget. By the third week of every month, she was back to rationing grocery bags and avoiding her friends' calls about dinner plans. She wasn't lazy. She wasn't careless. She was trapped in a cycle that millions of people live in without even realizing it, and the worst part was that she thought it was her fault. She believed she was just bad with money, that some people had the gene for financial success, and she simply didn't. But then one afternoon, sitting in a coffee shop she couldn't really afford to be in, she overheard a conversation that would completely transform everything. A stranger at the next table said 7 words that made her freeze with her cup halfway to her lips. Those 7 words contained a rule so simple, so obvious in hindsight, yet so powerful that within 6 months her entire financial reality had shifted. No lottery win, no inheritance, no secret cryptocurrency tip. Just one rule, applied consistently, that broke the cycle she thought was permanent. Her name was Maya, and if you had met her 2 years ago, you would have seen someone who looked like they had it together. Professional job, nice apartment, always well dressed. But beneath that surface was a constant, exhausting struggle that consumed her thoughts from the moment she woke up until she finally fell asleep. She made decent money, really, more than her parents ever had, but somehow it never seemed to be enough. The math never worked. Rent took half her paycheck before she even saw it. Then came utilities, insurance, her car payment, student loans. By the time she bought groceries and put gas in her tank, there was barely anything left, and the month still had 2 weeks to go. So she'd use her credit card just a little, telling herself she'd pay it off next month. But next month came with its own emergencies, its own shortfalls, and slowly that credit card balance grew like a tumor she couldn't remove. What made it worse was watching her colleagues, people who made roughly the same salary, somehow managed to take vacations, buy new things, go out for lunch without that calculator running constantly in their heads. She wondered what they knew that she didn't. She tried budgeting apps that made her feel guilty every time she bought coffee. She tried the cash envelope system that just made her feel poor and restricted. She tried cutting back on everything, living like a monk, but then something would break, or someone would get married, or her niece would have a birthday, and she'd be right back where she started, scrambling and stressed. The worst part wasn't even the lack of money. It was the shame, the feeling that she was failing at something everyone else seemed to handle just fine. She stopped talking about it because what could anyone say that she hadn't already tried? If you're watching this and any of this sounds familiar, do me a favor right now and subscribe to this channel, because what I'm about to share isn't just Maya's story. It's a pattern that affects millions of people, and understanding it might be the most valuable thing you do today. Hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, because the strategies we explore here could genuinely change how you think about money forever. The conversation Maya overheard wasn't even about money at first. 2 women were talking about their gardens, about how one of them had been struggling to get anything to grow, until her neighbor explained that she was watering wrong. She was watering a little bit every day, which seemed logical, but apparently roots need deep watering less frequently to grow strong. Constant shallow watering creates weak roots that can't sustain the plant. Then one of the women laughed and said, "That's exactly like money, actually." Her financial advisor had told her the same principle, that trying to spread everything thin across all your needs constantly leaves you with nothing strong to build on. You have to create depth somewhere first. That was it. That was the moment. Maya sat there with her now cold coffee and felt something click in her brain. She'd been trying to water everything a little bit all the time, spreading her money so thin across every need and want and obligation that nothing ever had a chance to root properly, to grow into something substantial. She went home that day and did something she'd never done before. She didn't open a budgeting app. She didn't calculate her expenses. Instead, she got out a piece of paper and drew a tree. At the root, she wrote one word: foundation. She asked herself a question she'd never really asked before. What is the one financial thing that, if I made it completely solid and unshakable, would make everything else easier? Not what should she do according to some financial guru. Not what seemed most urgent. What would actually create strength that could support everything else? For her, after really thinking about it, the answer was her emergency fund. She had maybe $300 in savings, which meant that any unexpected expense, and there was always an unexpected expense, sent her straight to her credit card, which then charged interest, which made the hole deeper. She was fighting uphill because she had no foundation. Here's where the rule comes in, and it's going to sound almost too simple, but stay with me because the simplicity is exactly what makes it work. The rule is this: choose one financial route to water deeply until it's strong, even if it means other things get less attention temporarily. Not forever, not in a way that creates crisis, but intentionally, strategically, create depth in one area before trying to improve everything at once. Maya decided her one thing was building a $1,000 emergency fund. Just $1,000. Not $10,000, not 6 months of expenses. Just enough to handle most common emergencies without derailing everything. And here's the key: she was going to do it by redirecting money from something that felt important but wasn't foundational. She looked at her spending and realized she was spending about $60 a month on a gym membership she used maybe twice a month because she was too tired from financial stress to go more often. She was spending $70 a month on streaming services, most of which she barely watched. She had a monthly subscription box for skincare that cost $45. None of these things were bad, but they also weren't roots. They were leaves. Pretty, enjoyable, but not what keeps the tree alive. She cancelled them, all of them, just for a defined period, and she took that $175 and put it directly into a savings account she labeled Foundation. It felt scary. It felt like deprivation. The first month, she really missed her shows and her gym and that little box of products that made her feel pampered. But then something happened in week 5. Her car needed new brake pads. $350. Normally this would have meant credit card debt, which would have meant interest, which would have meant falling further behind. Instead, she pulled the money from her foundation fund and her checking account and paid cash. And yes, it hurt to see her foundation fund drop, but here's what was different. It didn't create new debt. It didn't start a new cycle. She just had to rebuild her foundation, which she already knew how to do now. She had a system. Take a moment right now if this is resonating with you and drop a comment below about what your foundation might be. Is it an emergency fund like Maya's? Paying off a specific high-interest debt? Building up 1 month of rent in advance so you stop living paycheck to paycheck? Sometimes just naming it makes it real. By month 4, Maya hit her $1,000 foundation goal. And here's where it gets interesting, because she could have just stopped there and started spreading her money around again to all the things she'd cut. But she'd learned something. She'd learned that depth creates security in a way that breadth never could. So she asked herself the question again: what's the next route? This time, the answer was her credit card debt. She had $4,200 spread across 2 cards, and every month she paid the minimums plus a little extra when she could, but it barely made a dent because of the interest. Using the same $175 she'd been putting toward her foundation, she now attacked the smaller credit card first, $1,300 at 19% interest. Instead of trying to pay both cards simultaneously, she put minimum on the larger card and threw everything extra at the small one. 7 months later, that card was paid off completely. Gone. She cut it up. The psychological win was enormous. She'd eliminated an entire source of monthly stress. Now she took that $175 plus the $45 she'd been paying in minimums on the now closed card, giving her $220 a month, and aimed it all at the second card. 15 months after she'd started this whole process, she was completely credit card debt-free for the first time since college. But here's what really changed Maya's life. It wasn't just that she had more money, though she did. It wasn't just that she had less stress, though she definitely did. It was that she had learned how to build financial strength systematically. She understood now that financial security isn't about having unlimited money or never wanting anything. It's about creating strong roots in the right order so that when storms come, and storms always come, you don't get knocked over. With her credit cards paid off, she had $265 a month that had been going to minimums and foundation building. She could have finally gone back to all her old spending. But she'd changed. She'd seen what depth could do. So she asked the question again, what's the next route? This time it was retirement. She'd been putting off her company's retirement match program because she felt like she couldn't afford to have money taken out of her paycheck. But now she understood that was backwards thinking. The company match was literally free money, a guaranteed 100% return, but only if she contributed. She started contributing just enough to get the full match, which was 6% of her salary. That came out to about $190 a month. It hurt a little to see her paycheck drop, but she'd done harder things now. She knew how to build roots. The remaining $75, she split it. Half went to slowly rebuilding her emergency fund beyond the initial $1,000, because she'd learned that $1,000 handles most emergencies, but not all emergencies. The other half, she let herself enjoy. She didn't go back to all her old subscriptions, but she picked one streaming service. She found a cheaper gym. She gave herself permission to buy nice coffee once a week without guilt, because she'd learned another crucial thing: sustainability. If you're always in deprivation mode, eventually you'll snap and undo all your progress. Strong roots need some sunlight too. 2 years after that conversation in the coffee shop, Maya's financial life looked completely different. She had $4,000 in emergency savings. She was contributing 6% to retirement with a company match, meaning 12% of her salary was building her future. She had 0 credit card debt. And here's the thing that surprised her most. She made the same salary. Her income hadn't changed at all. What changed was that she stopped trying to do everything at once and started building depth strategically. She stopped spreading herself thin and started creating strong roots one at a time. The women in that coffee shop had been talking about gardens, but they'd handed her a principle that applied to everything. Depth before breadth, roots before leaves, foundation before decoration. Now you might be thinking that Maya's situation was specific to her, that your numbers are different, your obligations are different, your life is different. And you're right, but the principle isn't about the specific numbers. It's about the approach. Most financial advice tells you to do everything, budget every category, save for 17 different goals, invest, pay down debt, build emergency funds, contribute to retirement, all simultaneously. And for most people, that's overwhelming to the point of paralysis. They try for a week, maybe a month, then fall back into old patterns because it's too much to maintain. The rule Maya discovered is different. It says, pick one financial route, make it strong, then move to the next. Not eventually, not someday. Actually define it, timeline it, and execute it before moving on. I want you to pause right now and think about your own financial life. Not to judge it, not to feel bad about it, but to honestly assess it. If you had to pick one thing, just one, that if you made it completely solid would make everything else easier, what would it be? For some of you, it might be getting 1 month ahead on rent so you stop living paycheck to paycheck. For others, it might be paying off a particular debt that's charging predatory interest rates. For some, it might be building that initial emergency fund so car repairs don't mean credit card debt. There's no wrong answer. The wrong answer is trying to do all of them at once and ending up doing none of them well. Drop a comment and tell me what your one thing might be, because sometimes declaring it publicly makes it real. Maya told me something else when I talked to her about her story. She said the hardest part wasn't actually cutting things or redirecting money. The hardest part was fighting against the feeling that she should be able to do everything. That somehow, real financial success meant never having to choose, never having to prioritize, never having to say not right now to something you wanted. But that's a fantasy. Even wealthy people have to allocate resources strategically. The difference is, they usually do it intentionally rather than reactively. They build foundations before penthouse views. Maya had been trying to build everything simultaneously while standing on sand, and she wondered why nothing felt secure. When she started building bedrock first, everything changed. There's a psychological component to this that's worth understanding too. Every month that Maya successfully put money toward her defined goal, even when it was hard, even when she wanted to use it for something else, she was proving to herself that she could keep commitments to herself, that she wasn't helpless or hopeless with money, that she had agency. Most people struggling financially have been struggling for so long that they've internalized a story about themselves. I'm bad with money. I don't have discipline. I can't stick to plans. Every failed budget attempt reinforces that story. But when you pick one thing, make it achievable, and actually do it, you start writing a new story. You become someone who follows through, someone who builds things, someone who has financial strength not because of luck or privilege, but because of intentional strategic action. The rule works because it's finite and focused. Human brains struggle with abstract, ongoing tasks, but excel at concrete, defined missions. Save more money is abstract and eternal. Build $1,000 in emergency savings is concrete and completable. Pay off debt is overwhelming. Pay off this specific $1,300 credit card is achievable. Once you complete one route, you get a psychological win that fuels the next effort. And the beauty of the sequential approach is that each route you strengthen makes the next one easier. Emergency fund means unexpected expenses don't create debt. No debt means more money available for next goals. Retirement contributions mean you're not starting from zero at 65. Each route supports the next. Maya also learned to protect her roots once they were established. When she paid off that first credit card, she didn't close the account and forget about it. She kept it open with a zero balance for credit score purposes, but she removed it from her wallet. She set up her financial life so that backsliding required active effort rather than passive drift. Her emergency fund went into a high-yield savings account at a different bank from her checking, so she couldn't accidentally spend it. Her retirement contributions came out automatically before she saw the money. She designed her system to support her goals rather than undermine them. About a year into her journey, Maya faced her biggest test. Her sister was getting married and asked her to be a bridesmaid, which came with about $1,200 in expenses: dress, shoes, bachelorette weekend, shower gift, wedding gift. Old Maya would have panicked and put it all on a credit card. New Maya had options. She had her emergency fund, which could technically cover it, but she also knew that weddings aren't emergencies. So she asked herself, what route am I building right now, and will this derail it? At that moment, she was working on building her emergency fund beyond the initial 1,000 toward a more robust 3 months of expenses. She was about 7 months into that process. She did the math. If she paused her emergency fund contributions for 4 months and redirected that money toward wedding expenses, then added a little from her discretionary spending, she could handle it without debt and without destroying her foundation. So that's what she did. She paused, dealt with the large expense, then resumed. The key was that it was intentional. She made a plan, executed it, and got back on track. She didn't spiral. She didn't give up. She adapted while protecting her roots. This is important because life will always throw things at you. There will always be weddings, vacations, opportunities, emergencies. and temptations. The rule isn't about becoming a financial robot who never spends money on anything but necessities. It's about building your financial foundation strong enough that when you do spend on other things, it doesn't destroy everything. It's about making choices from a position of strength rather than desperation. Maya could say yes to being in her sister's wedding without anxiety because she had options, she had depth, she had roots. If you're still watching, leave me a comment about the biggest financial challenge you're facing right now. Not because I have magic solutions, but because sometimes just naming the challenge out loud to someone, even strangers on the internet, takes away some of its power over you. Now let's talk about what happened when Maya reached what she considered financial stability. Emergency fund fully funded at 3 months of expenses, no consumer debt, retirement contributions happening automatically. She'd built her roots. So what came next? This is where a lot of people plateau because they think the goal is simply to not be stressed about money anymore. But Maya had learned that financial health isn't a destination, it's a practice. So she asked the question again, what's the next route? This time, the answers were more growth-oriented rather than survival-oriented. She started thinking about building wealth rather than just escaping poverty. She increased her retirement contributions beyond the match. She opened a regular investment account and started learning about index funds. She began saving for a down payment on a house, not because she had to, but because she wanted to, and now she could actually imagine it being possible. But she also did something really interesting. She started spending intentionally on things that mattered to her without guilt. She took a vacation, a real one that she'd saved for specifically. She upgraded her very old, very unreliable car to something newer and dependable, financing it at a low rate she'd qualified for because her credit score had improved dramatically. She started going out with friends again without that constant calculator running in her head. The difference was that all of this was coming from surplus, from strength, not from desperation or deprivation rebound. She'd built the roots, and now the tree could have some leaves. Maya's story isn't unique because she's special. It's powerful because she's not. She didn't have special advantages or windfalls. She didn't marry rich or win the lottery or get a massive promotion. She made the same salary and faced the same challenges as millions of other people. The only thing that changed was her approach. She stopped trying to fix everything at once and started building depth strategically, one root at a time, one strong foundation, then the next, then the next. It's not sexy, it's not fast, but it works. And it creates lasting change because it's based on building actual financial strength rather than just willpower or restriction. The rule that changed Maya's life can be summarized simply: depth before breadth in your finances. Pick one financial route, make it unshakable, then move to the next. Don't spread yourself thin trying to improve everything simultaneously. Build strength sequentially. Water deeply, not shallowly. And once you've built your roots, protect them, maintain them, and let them support the life you actually want to live. That's it. That's the rule. Simple enough to remember, powerful enough to transform everything. Here's what I want you to take away from this. You don't need more income to start building financial strength, though more income certainly helps. You don't need perfect discipline or to never make mistakes. You need a clear understanding of what your first route should be, a plan to build it, and the commitment to see it through before moving on. Start there, just there. Not with 17 goals and a complicated spreadsheet. With one thing, make it strong. Then ask the question again. What's next? Build that. Then ask again. You'd be amazed what you can create in 2 years with this approach. Maya was. The beautiful thing about roots is that once they're established, they don't require constant attention the way shallow watering does. They're just there, strong and stable, holding everything up while you focus on new growth. That's what financial security actually feels like. Not having unlimited money, having strong enough foundations that you're not constantly worried about everything collapsing, having depth where it matters, having the freedom to make choices instead of always reacting to crisis. That's what changed for Maya, and that's what's available to you if you're willing to build differently than you have been. So ask yourself right now, today, this moment, what is my one route? What is the one financial thing that, if I made it completely solid, would make everything else easier? Don't overthink it. Don't make it complicated. Just pick one thing, write it down, decide how you're going to build it. Then start. Not tomorrow, not next month when things are less busy. Now. Because every day you wait is another day of shallow watering that keeps you weak. You deserve strong roots, you deserve financial stability, and it's more achievable than you think if you're willing to build depth before breadth, one root at a time. That's the rule that changed Maya's life, and it might just change yours too. Thank you so much for watching this all the way through. That tells me you're serious about making changes, and I respect that commitment. I've got another video right over there that dives deeper into specific strategies for building emergency funds even on a tight budget. And it might be exactly what you need to hear next. Check it out. You've already invested this much time in improving your financial life. Why stop now?